Hi guys, just coming on live. So, some interesting times, lots of things are happening. So we have a new article that has come out, which is one of my wonderful clients that I have. She's fantastic, and we've been talking over the since last year about different things happening this year, and she found this article. And it's I've just posted it on the group, and it's about how rats are infecting people in Hong Kong with hepatitis. Well, they're saying it's rats, but we all know that that's not the case. So I want to talk a little bit about this, and it's also recapping on what I said back in early March when I did the first video, when I talked about the coronavirus. And Spirit were very clear to me, and they said, look, the next phase of this a few months down the track, and it's already happening with 2 months into it now, 2.5 months or whatever it is, that the liver will start to be affected. Now this is humanities grief. Now it's the humanities resentment against the establishment, because what we're seeing now is these baboons that are running our world and country are starting to look ridiculous now. There's so much inadequacy and backwards and forwards and misinformation, and they're going against each other. They're not speaking the truth. There's thousands of doctors out there now that are debunking the whole process about corona, how it's even I think there was one doctor, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the last video, and I'll try and post the link. And he's well known, and he's been in 30 years, and he's done a lot of stuff with the immune system, different viruses and bacteria. And he stated clearly that scientifically, and I don't hold me to these words because I watched the video a while ago, but he scientifically said that it's impossible for this virus to jump the way it does. So basically he was saying this whole social distancing is a joke, and this guy is he's had a #1 bestseller for medical and viruses and diseases, and he's talking a lot about the holes in the narrative that they're saying, and he said, look, there's thousands of doctors that know this, but they will not speak up through fear of being attacked, killed, or struck off, or made to look stupid, and they're really ramping that up now, as you know, a lot of people, David Icke's been taken off of all the social media fronts now, so they're really honing in on people, because they are on the verge of losing their control and power. So the next thing now is to start blaming other things, and that's the normal narrative, which we'll get to in a minute about rats. But let's try not to keep it on a conspiracy level. Like I said before, it's conspiracy theories, yes, most of them are real, but if you polarize your energy into that, and I have said this before, if you polarize your energy into that system of thinking, then you will magnetize your energy down into that lower vibration. So you need to understand the truth, but you need to be detached from it. And this is why it's so important to work on the emotional body before you really get into what's really going on, and also why they're not releasing so much stuff at once. The truth is because people are not grounded in their emotional bodies. So if they release too much information too quickly, this is going to cause a huge amount of fear and panic and anxiety, which is going to augment what's already out there. So there's so much going on behind the scenes. There's actually more going on now in the invisible world around the planet than there is physically. So we've all been shut down to a level. The governments are ceasing a lot of stuff because obviously they can't work in an environment or a democracy, or whatever you want to call it, when everything's shut down. So the energies around the planet and what's coming onto the planet are really doing a lot of the work, and a lot of the shifts are going on in our co-creative, which is in our unconscious, as humanities all banded together. So it's really now about stepping back and just observing what they're saying, and then just letting that information sit in the heart first. Because if you can detach, It's like when you get stuck to the TV, your tunnel vision, you're taking everything in. They've spoken about subliminal messaging and how it can, especially adverts and, propaganda techniques and all the rest of it. Yes, that's all real, but if your vibration is in a higher spec, then you're not going to be drawn into it. So I think you just need to step back from everything you're reading and just let it vibrate in the heart first. And you'll go straight away, you'll feel it. Okay, no, that's not right. Because even if you're on the fence with some of this information, it's really good just to sit back and you can just use your imagination and bring that energy into the heart center. And because your soul's very much around us at the moment, you're going to get the truth very, very quickly. And it's going to push through some of those limiting belief systems or that judgment around a lot of how we take our lives forward. So I want to read this. This is very interesting. This is what I've channeled. So basically, have a look at that article. Hi guys, have a look at that article that I sent if you're interested. But to be honest, again, it's just the false narrative that they're spilling out. So if you haven't seen the article, it's basically saying rats are affecting human beings and causing hepatitis. Now, hepatitis sits in the liver. Okay, so this is the channel message. They use rats as an excuse because humans see them as vermin. Disregarded, living in the sewers underground, they portray them as disease with no place in our society. The rat holds the space for your internal makeup to be mirrored back to you. Their gift is to mirror your own dislikes, judgments, and condemnation. All the aspects you struggle and deny to look at within your own consciousnesses. The rat is the archetypal projection of denial and blame. This is humanity's greatest challenge. You see your lives as consequence, not really embodying that you all create your own misery through the constant judging and misinterpretation of your experiences. It is universally impossible for another being to affect you without your permission. And this is why it is so important to be soul present. The hepatitis is a manifestation of the denied, repressed emotional charge of anger, judgment, and denial of your emotional bodies. The very denial of victim consciousness that sits within the human arena. It's the rejection of the emotional body that is now manifesting itself worldwide. The physical liver is also the feminine liver, and she has been repressed for an eon of time. And now the divine feminine is releasing her rage. And there will be many females feeling this rage and expressing it for the first time. This needs to be honoured as a natural release with the intent to create balance, both planetary and individually. The rage is looking for acknowledgement, and to deny any longer is no longer an option. You must be in the moment and acknowledge whatever you are feeling in that moment without judgment. Just accept it with love and gratitude. Only then can you start the release. You are all moving through the denied, repressed emotional body, and it is very important you understand what is really going on so it doesn't overwhelm you or create more confusion and despair. There are underlying emotional fields that will be moving through human consciousness for the next 3 months. That will start the process of human collective detoxification. And it is paramount that all of you take responsibility with your feelings and allow them to surface and release without the mind's control over your being. In truth, the less you know about the feelings, the better. This way, you don't create or attach to a story. Divine intelligence knows what it needs to do, so make sure gratitude for whatever you are feeling in any given moment is your number one priority and intention. Surfacing now are the memories of conflict and loss. This is your deepest grief and fear coming to the surface. The battling and fighting you have endured time after time is now looking for love and acceptance. You must all be brave now and take back your power. Take back your universal entitlement of love without conflict. This time now is a special time in the human collective, and you are all going to be in awe of your future Earth. So that's a really good message, and it's really good to sort of highlight why they've attacked rats, because it's, from the light's perspective, you know, the light is using the dark at the moment and the dark is using the light. It's the intention, and I'll get into all that another time because it's amazing how it's all interwoven. But the rat, obviously, like it says, it explains what it does, what the rat is. It's the archetypal energy, but it's interesting how they've used the rat, because it is that thing we push underneath, because that's the last thing we want to look at, is the shadow self. So again, it's another technique not to look at what's going on within our own selves. So you need to look at these signs and see, why have they used that? Why have they used that? What does that actually mean? Because most of the time, whatever they tell you, and this is the governments and the media and the medical, do the opposite. And I'm not saying do the opposite, you have to be discerning, but often the information is in the reverse. If you do the other way, what they say, then you're going to be okay. I've seen that 100+ times in different scenarios in life. So this is also, the liver is also been running on the fire energy, pushing, will, stress. Now this is what blows out the chakras. It was what blows out the end of the nervous system, and it blows out the muscles, causes spinal misalignments and deforming in the body. Because if you're constantly running on fire energy, will, pushing, stress, you don't have the balance of water. So our whole society is like that, and this is that mental drive that I was talking about last week. So you have to bring water, the feminine, into the body to balance this. And it's starting again in Asia, because Spirit said to me that the Asian, as in Chinese, Japanese, that part of Asia, operate very much in the mental energy more than the emotional energy. Now, because that mental energy has not been allowed to oscillate through the body and take emotional resonance, it's now manifesting itself as disease and illness. So they have said that there'll be a lot more coming out of Asia. So this is probably the start. We'll keep up to date with all that as well. But it's just fascinating, you know. And again, look, Spirit telling this before it's even happened. So, you know, this has all been planned out on every level. So what you have to do is just surrender to it. If you get tied up into this whole narrative, you're going to pull your emotional bodies all over the place to just completely disconnect. And that's the gift of being at home in isolation, is to really now go a little bit deeper. Because what's happening now, from when we did the first video back in late March, the energies were still quite intense. If you tune in to the collective now, it's starting to soften. We're coming to like a mid-band of the emotional field, and people are starting to let go. And I can feel, especially in England, that the shoulder and tension around here is starting to let go through the English culture, because very mentally focused here as well. It's a very corporate environment. We're also in the Northern Hemisphere, so we work on the mental field. So again, it's also understanding where you're living, what's that reflecting back to you as well, because we all connect together. So everyone we're living with and around us have a same agenda or some sort of attraction on a soul level. So it's very interesting, just sort of, it's again, just sort of stepping back and looking at all the signs that are going on at the moment, and just surrendering to your own emotions, and get out of the stories. Do not attach to the stories anymore. So really go in and tune into your own livers, talk to the liver. You know, be drinking a lot more water now, have more baths, get around the water as much as you can, because that's going to help the emotional field. And then just that gentleness of the feminine energy. So you can work with, you know, the feminine divine energy. You can, you know, maybe have pink or rose flowers, and just sort of sit with it and just invoke it in the body, and just intuitively go into your own liver, just with your imagination. Even if you've not done any healing before, just the intention alone will open the door. So sit in your liver and just talk to it. So, hello liver, how are you? What do you want to show me? Because it's coming up in everyone, so it's going to manifest on some level. So it's best to just be in tune with your own process. And like I said, no human being on this planet can escape this any longer. This is the soul coming down into everyone's consciousness and saying, hello, the invisible world is real. I'm real. I am what keeps your heart beating. I have the one that supported your whole life. The only reason you're on the planet is because of me. So you need to surrender to me now, because I can give you the most abundant life possible. So it's a very simple process when we get through the mind's chatter, and this whole paradigm that we've been caught in, and it's starting to break up now. And I remember last week, and I think I said it again, but I'll just repeat it, the UFOs that they've just released, I think it was NASA or CIA, they said they found 3 craft. This was all planned, this is all part of the disclosure, so that's part 1 of talking about the invisible world and the ET alliance. So you're starting to see it now coming through the mainstream media. So just keep your eyes open, detach from the mainstream news, because it's false and it's a false narrative. Now, obviously, you know, I know that from spirit, but you know, if you feel that that's still the way you want to listen to information, that's fine, because we all have a process. But I'm just saying, when you take information in, make sure it resonates in the heart first, okay? And then you can have discernment over information that you hear. Because we are so misaligned with the truth. This is what's caused all our dysfunction, and this is why people are in survival, stressed out and worn out. And people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. All right, guys. I don't know if I bring another one through this week. I'll let you know. Otherwise, I'll speak to you all next week and see what comes up then. Thank you. Hi to everyone. Thanks for the messages. Take care. Cheers.